So a fun little problem on this side of the whatever. My monitor's clearly busted, but I think I have a backup solution for that. This computer, which is now running 24H2 release candidate,
I like that you call it that.
whatever it's called, uh, after it, so I can boot and log in and get things set up, like it looks like they're fine, but now it is completely frozen, and it's done this 3 times in a row now. Like I have no mouse. The only way to turn it off is to do a hard shutdown.
Right.
It's not good.
Interesting. I had a problem like this on the Mac this morning, oddly. Not related to 24H2, but I think it might be some third-party utility I installed that's sort of basically like a taskbar replacement for the dock, which I have to say I kind of like, but I think it.
Well, the real pain in the ass is usually I have like Throt.com open here, like that's sort of like the show notes or whatever.
Yeah.
I got.
You got nothing? Do you want me to read it to you?
Yeah. But you got a screen reader? That would be great for a podcast.
That's great. Yeah.
Although, Paul, I did some math, which is scary.
Yeah.
And we can just do that instead. Because, so we always talk about Call of Duty launching on Game Pass or whatever. It's like $1 billion thing, right? We always say like Call of Duty, because Activision literally wrote in like 2022, like it was $1 billion week for Call of Duty. Without doing any logical math, because I have a number here. You're going to have to guess.
Okay.
How many Game Pass signups would have to occur, we'll just say in October, to justify putting Black Ops 6 from a financial perspective into Game Pass? What number do you think that is?
Well, so first of all, we have to make some assumptions here, as you do with all financial predictions, right?
Well, see, if you work backwards through it, you'll be able to get to the number where I'm at. That's why you got to...
Okay. But I mean, but the unknowable here is how many people will not buy the game, which is $60 or whatever, 70.
70, yep.
70.
Yeah, there's 34 million subscribers today who are rough. That's the last public number.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the question is $70, let's call it, divided by 15. How many months do these people play the game? Like, I don't know what the behavior is here. I know what I used to do, but all right. So I'm going to have to say, let's just say for this to make sense, I'm just guessing. So I have to guess. I'd say like half the user base would have to,
Yeah, and this is purely from a perspective of new signups. Because if you try to justify, like, well, there's 6 billion.
Yeah, that's what. No, that was one of my assumptions.
Yeah.
I mean, you want a number of Game Pass subscribers? You mean added?
Yeah.
Like what's the number?
To be like that.
The problem is these things are temporary. Like you could just do it for 3 months because you want to play the game and you're done. So you spent $45 or something.
Yeah.
Like, and you save money. I guess I don't know. I think this will do pretty well for them, honestly. Game Pass wise.
I do too.
The question is making up the billion. I would whatever 500 million divided by 50. No, not divided by 50. A year of Game Pass, let's say, is $150, right?
Mm-hmm.
30. I don't know. I can't even get there. I don't know because there's just too many assumptions.
There's a lot of assumptions that we can back out, and this is what I did late last night because I was like, hey, what is the number? So with the assumption that it's $1 billion. And again, that's already an assumption because we don't know. Assumption it's $1 billion. From the FTC versus Microsoft, we learned that 4.4 million of Modern Warfare 2 copies were sold, which is roughly 30% of that $1 billion announcement from 2022.
Sorry, say that again. How many million?
4.4 million on PlayStation.
Just on PlayStation?
Yeah, just on PlayStation.
So you could kind of figure that out. God, I'm sorry.
What it works out to is if people only paid for 1 month, which we know that's not true. Most people will probably pay for a number of months. The number would be 11 million. But if you extrapolate it out into 4 months, it's only 2 million. Which that actually seems like a number that might be obtainable for Xbox because a majority of it, right? the remaining revenue, you can't count out PC. PC is a large chunk of it.
Okay, I was going to say this is not close to the number I thought it was going to be.
Right, because here's how I came to that number, because we know that roughly Xbox to PC sales are 2-1. It's shifted and ebbed and flowed, but back then, remember this is 2 years ago, so that's the old last gen Xbox and a little bit of new gen. It's roughly 2-1. So if PlayStation did roughly 30%, 30 to 40%, that means that Xbox is doing like 15-ish%, 15 to 20.
Are you including PC Game Pass?
No, so that's the number
that's the other screwy bit there, right? Yeah.
But when you do it, if you kind of just ignore that, because those numbers are probably
that's what I'm saying. There's so many variables here. It's complicated.
But even on like a pessimistic side, you would be like 2 to 3 million signups that would last for 4 months, which I don't think is unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable at all. It's a small number. I mean,
especially with the content drops that they do. And this is assuming that none of the 34 million, right? This is all net new signups. When you hear that number, to me, it's like, oh, that actually doesn't seem
I went down this path many months ago, and I just couldn't get to it because there was just too many. You had to make too many assumptions, and any one of them could be wrong, and probably is wrong. Like the PC version is like the thing that there's one. you know, we don't know exactly the number, but we know there are more players on PlayStation than Xbox by some degree.
Mm-hmm.
You just said a number specifically for a game. I would imagine the last game did not sell as well.
Right. Modern Warfare 2, I think we both argue, is higher up on the pecking order than, say, a Black Ops 6.
Maybe.
Anticipation.
But then again, putting it on Game Pass, depending on how they do it, could generate some excitement. I mean, it could generate some lack of excitement from PlayStation people, perhaps. I mean, I'd like to think that's not going to impact anything. I don't know. This is a hard one. Yeah. This has been 15 minutes of me going, because I have no idea.
For sure are 1 billion in sales in the first, like in that launch window, and 4.4 million on PlayStation. Those numbers are from like legitimate sources, and so then everything else is a bit of a hedge. But we know other numbers that can help. Whatever.
Yeah,
I was just sitting there laying in my bed thinking, like, man, we could actually figure out what they got to do and justify how they came to this decision.
I came to somewhere, I just closed it, but it was like over $300 million would have been from PlayStation on that net based on $70 per.
Yeah, and that's the $70, which was the lowest entry. You know, some people spent the $100 for whatever the limited edition launch thing.
I mean, 2 years ago, the price might have been 60 too. I'd have to go look that up, but whatever. Yep. Yeah. Okay. I guess your point is this seems like an insane mistake, but could be financially viable.
Yeah.
I guess the question is whether it endures. Like you have people who will sign up for Netflix for like a month because there's a new series, and then they go away. Like we're going to have a ton of that with Game Pass. And is that good, bad, and different to the business?
Although you could make a pretty good argument that of all the titles in the Xbox portfolio, at least as of right now in their current state, Call of Duty is probably the best suited to keep people paying monthly because they do a very consistent job of shipping season passes or battle passes every 3 months. Like they're very consistent and very good at those content drops.
That's true. And there's been no needle move on this at all, but they have this whole back catalog of games, not just Call of Duty, but the whole Activision Blizzard thing, right? So some percentage of that should be there by October. I mean, we'll see, but and that's the upgrade psychology. Like, people walk in to get something that's the cheapest deal, but it actually does make sense to upgrade. And one thing that would keep people on the service too, another factor would be, well, there's this other stuff too, and it's such a great value. I'd be stupid not to do this. So I know I'm playing Call of Duty, but I can play these other games for free, essentially. We'll see. This has been a year of great negativity for Xbox. Look, I've always worried about this with Windows, that they've gone too far and they're going to alienate customers and they're going to start walking away. There's been not much evidence of that. So those fears, I guess, have been unfounded so far.
Yeah.
And maybe that's true of Xbox as well. But back in the day, I had made the case that Xbox gamers were far more loyal fans than PlayStation people. And that didn't really pan out, so it's hard to say. I mean, there's a lot, like I said, a lot of variables. Like, will PlayStation fans of Xbox, of Call of Duty, just continue forward without worry and not really thinking about things and just play these games normally? I mean, Microsoft has to hope so, because they're a big chunk of it.
Yep.
Thank you for really you ground my brain to a halt.
That's good.
It was worse than that. It was like I was going 60 miles an hour and hit a wall. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't. Math at 9 a.m.
I don't know. This computer is hosed and boned. This is not ideal.
Just get a Mac.
Well, it's great because the other PC that I have now, the other PC is broken, not because of Windows' fault, but if this audio doesn't work, it should, but
it's everything. Yeah,
I can't. I literally, it's just the monitor's just flickering and clicking.
Yep. And it's just going to be like crackly video or audio of you and me sounding like robots or something, unintelligible. Which, frankly, not that different from a regular episode. What are you going to do?
Oh yeah, no podcast Wednesday, Thursday.